All right, Hawkins.
Yes.
Burrows.
Yes.
Salvo.
Yes.
Moreno.
Yes.
Vargas.
Yes. All right, approve the agenda. Make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
I'll make a second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, at this time, we'll take visitors. This time is when community members can make public comments to the board. Please be aware that the board cannot comment on anything that is said during this time. This is the only time in the agenda reserved for open public comment. This will be limited to 30 minutes. Please limit your comments to 4. No comments? All right, central administration fundraiser request.
There's one in the packet for yearbook students who are selling t-shirts that they're printing. So I recommend to approve as presented.
I make a motion to approve.
Make a motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No overnight trips.
Is this an example of what they're selling, what you're wearing?
No.
Okay.
I did get one.
Yeah, it's a booster.
I got one. It was like an older style, had like the bell on it, had like the Liberty Bell.
Yeah.
So if you're a fan of the bell, they had that on it.
Yeah, they posted about it on the website, I think, or Facebook. I don't know, that you can go on our school store and there are pictures of them on there.
They had a couple of them at the game, at the meet the other day, and then they had some at the holiday open house.
Right, so then I'm trying to review this.
And then school on track.
I will share. On
So what we have is the end of first trimester on track status report. So just a review of some data as far as academics, as well as the grade competition and attendance competition that we do. And then the last slide is the students on track. So the first slide is the percent of high school students who passed all of their classes. So pretty high bar set for this year at 94%. So hopefully we can keep going up, but it's kind of a high bar. So but I think every week on Tuesday mornings, the students that do announcements share with the entire school verbally how things are going as far as attendance and grade data. So I think it's something that gets talked about. I know a lot of teachers, Andrew sends that email out to all the teachers, and a lot of teachers use it in their like daily lesson plans on a Tuesday also. Here's where we are, here's where your grade is, that kind of thing. So I do think the more we talk about it, just the better kids are doing and the more improvement we see. So and you can see previous years, kind of what that looks like each trimester. It's going way back to 2019, 2020. I feel like we should just put 100% on that third trimester. Maybe not. The next slide then. This would be the percent of enrolled classes that were passed by our students. So kind of a reverse way of looking at that data. This is the one that's 98% for the first trimester. The next slide is GPA, which I know is a thing that Andrew shares or I share with, but usually Andrew. With the grades, we have grade level meetings at least once a year. So we had all the seniors in the auditorium and talk to them about this is your senior year and that whole speech. And then this week, 9th graders will be in the auditorium during advisement. And so this will be one of the data points we share with 9th graders is what what their GPA looks like overall as a grade. Then I think sometimes too, part of that presentation to students is what the GPA looks like based on kids with unexcused absences and unexcused tardies, and just the significant difference you see between students who are on class on time to class or don't have unexcused absences, and how typically their GPA is higher than students who do have unexcused absences and unexcused tardies. So that'll be part of that sort of a sub slide for the freshman class. We have a competition as far as attendance, with attendance being one of our goals as a building. And so each week we tally unexcused absences and unexcused tardies in the grade that has the least of those then earns the points for that week. And so 10th grade won this year, which is unusual. What we've seen in previous years is typically the freshman class come in from the middle school with this whole just great attitude about school and coming to school and being on time and all of that. And they slipped a little bit. This year's freshman class slipped a little bit. So the sophomores won the trimester. So we actually took cookies to all the advisements a couple weeks ago. Yeah. This one is the percent of students who pass all their classes by a week. So each week on teachers need to update their grades weekly. And so we run an F list on Monday afternoons, just to know who's in who's not passing classes. And so then this would be that data tracked throughout the trimester. One of the other things that, and again, this was an Andrew thing, we keep track of the kids who are not passing classes, and that email is sent out to all coaches when the F list is run. So then coaches are aware, much more aware now than they ever used to be, of kids that might be struggling who are in their sports. Just to kind of keep an extra set of eyes on them, right? Next slide is attendance data across the weeks as well. I feel like, this is just in my opinion, but since the state has put such a big target on attendance, I feel like we have more attendance issues just in general. It just feels that way. You know, I feel we have some kids that are leaving for vacation and they're leaving now, they're leaving in the next week or so and going to be gone all winter break. And I'm like, I swear not as many people left last year. Like, what is it? So I'm sure it's just my opinion and what it feels like, because there's a big target on it, but it does feel like it's more of that we're just seeing more attendance challenges, I would say. So, and again, attendance is a thing so we have a letter that goes out when they hit a certain percentage of absences. So families get notified via email, or if they don't even have an email, then a letter would get mailed out. We haven't sent, I don't know, do you have a number that we've sent?
For probably the 10% is probably about 20 or so. 36 class periods.
So we do, so we are making those communications with parents, and we do hear from some parents and then work to figure out what's going on. The biggest question, if we get an email from a parent, the biggest question is, you know, but these were excused, or these were appointments, or these, and then we just have to explain that, yes, and we understand that, but it's also now all being counted and part of the new law. So every month when we send out the newsletter, just that we have a blurb about the new attendance law. I don't know if you read my newsletter, Becky.
I did, I opened it up and read it.
But there's a blurb in there about the new attendance law and what that looks like. And so just trying to be in constant communication with families about that as much as we can. So. Next, we have the students on track. So this would be by percentage, the students that are on track after first trimester. So basically, we look at the total number of credits they can earn in a year, which would be 18. And so needing 56 to graduate, kind of calculating that out. So a freshman to be on track would need to have passed 4 of their 6 classes this first trimester. So 93% of the freshmen are on track to graduate. And then the next slide shows you how many credits they are behind. So we have 7 who are 1 to 5 credits behind. So we have 4 sophomores, 3 juniors, and 6 seniors. so for seniors, they need 56 to graduate, so if they don't have 44 by the end of first trimester, we consider them at risk to not graduate, because they can only get 12 more to make it. So we do have 3 seniors who are more than 12 credits behind. And we've had meetings with those families, we have meetings with the kids, we have weekly check-ins with those kids, so we're working, doing the best we can to try and get them to want to make it across that finish line. Sometimes it's,
I think 2 of those just got moved to senior status, so that's probably why they're a little bit.
in the 12th grade.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we do have a couple of kids that would be able to make it yet this year that want to graduate early. And so that's an unusual thing, but it is something that we actually, I think there are 4 that we've moved to senior status this year or last spring and summer that would make it. So if they don't make it, it's kind of a no harm, no foul, right? But they're wanting to get out into the great big world a little earlier than first planned. So the last slide, then we do still have our CAP, which it runs on Mondays and Thursdays in the library. And so this is just the attendance. We count how many students come to it each time. You can see some of that depending on when, the closer we get to the end of the trimester, the more kids we see that come in and get help. Our teachers, I think, do a very nice job of letting kids know when they're going to be there. So if you're struggling in math or struggling in English or whatever that may be, then that teacher will let kids know, hey, I'm going to be at CAP tonight, so if you need help or want to come in, get that more specific help. Although Andrew's there all the time for math help, so their regular math teacher would come in here.
I have a question.
Oh,
I have a question.
Yeah.
Well, first, it's interesting that you said that normally it's the freshmen that win because I remember last year the freshmen won and I was like, oh, great class. And now they're sophomores and it'll be interesting to see if they keep doing all that.
Well, yes.
Do you know or have any ideas why the freshmen their GPA is at like 2.97? Everybody else is over 3.3. Or like anything that you've noticed?
I would say, not trying to generalize the class, but we've definitely not seen, I guess, as there's a larger group of maybe more students in the freshman class that are a little more apathetic about school, a little more apathetic about, doing homework, or grades don't really matter to them. Which we typically see some at the freshman level, just because in middle school and elementary, you're often advanced to the next grade level, whether you are academically strong or not. A lot of that comes from just that idea of social, right? Where when you get to high school, the credits matter, and if you don't make the credits, then you're not going to. And so, so I think that would be the one thing that I've noticed is there's always probably a group that is apathetic towards school, but maybe a larger group in the freshman class.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was thinking too, because I mean, even though that the attendance looks decent, like compared to other cohorts, like usually you'd see the freshman class be substantially better, not just at or slightly above. I mean, usually you're like mid-80s for attendance for them. And I don't know.
And it's easy
That's
to
the going
correlate,
in the bad
yeah,
course.
that the freshmen only won your contest once.
Yeah.
And then their grade point averages left.
Week 10, we did make, we have an attendance competition between advisements now with 9th grade, so that's kind of up. You'll see a tick up in the last 3 weeks, because we
Changed it a
can
little bit.
sit down to just them. We still do the school-wide thing, but we'll carry that out through the whole trimester too. So we've had some that have 100% attendance in some of our advisements in 9th grade, so I think we'll see that increase, so.
I think sometimes you'll see that happen too, when you've got a really strong group in the sophomores, then the freshmen are like, I don't really, we can't win anyway, so who cares? So I think that's a good approach.
And maybe the class meeting on Wednesday will inspire them.
And then like the senior year, I mean, each year you probably have a couple that are, will, you know, probably not graduate. Do you start setting up for like alternative education for them to complete, or is that just, how does that happen? Do they get, like, when does it start to be like, no, you need to seriously start thinking about another plan here to graduate, like as in a high set or something else?
So we actually started doing that in freshman year. So now that we have grades finalized for first trimester, we'll really look at those kids that are very behind, which it's not a lot in as freshmen, and send a letter to families just letting them know that if this path were to continue, your student would not be able to graduate with their peers. And so that happens after every trimester. And then usually by their junior year, if it's looking bleak, if you will, then we're making sure we're not just sending a letter, that we're reaching out and having them come in during parent teacher conferences or whenever it works to sit down and kind of map out, here's what it looks like. You know, and then some kids, especially when they're seniors, you know, if they're more on their own than supported by a family, we might really coach them about, we would love to have you walk the stage, but it looks like you may not make it, and here are some other opportunities, and then kind of coach them into that high set or you know, other programs if they're available. But obviously not ideal. We want everybody to walk across the stage, but sometimes there's just, life happens and it's not feasible. So but definitely doing a better job of trying to get ahead of it earlier and let families know and kids know you're not on a trajectory that allows you to walk the stage with your classmates. So what can we do about that?
And is the cap required for any student if they're behind like the 7 credits? Is it ever required, or like a study hall or?
No, cap is definitely not required. It's very much encouraged, and teachers will reach out to students and, hey, you have this to make up and I'll be there kind of thing. So, you know, try and get them there that way. So we once in a while, if we have a student that's failing quite a few classes, we might drop a class and add a study hall in during the trimester so that they can catch up in their other classes and still salvage some credits versus potentially failing everything. But in general, study hall's not usually a thing students have in their schedule.
I'm wondering, it sounds like the struggling students may have lots of issues besides, you know, just normal kids that don't. Are the facilitators involved in working with these students to get to class, get to this tutoring, or you check in with the parents?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Yes, so we have our Comet supports teams that meet every other week on Tuesdays. We have a 9-10-10 team and an 11-12 team. And so within those groups, we look at the students who are struggling attendance grade wise. Those are usually very correlated, and work on who in that team can reach out to those kids, or who do we know that has a connection with those kids. And so we do a lot of weekly check-ins with all kinds of students, and sometimes not even ones that are struggling, but yeah, definitely those that we see that are struggling. And then Andrew does a really nice job of tracking that, all of that data. And so when we get back to it in 2 weeks, we can see the kids that have made some improvement and be able to talk a little bit about that and celebrate that they're going in the right direction. So, so definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are there any resources that you guys are lacking or would find beneficial?
Great question.
Yeah, think about it.
I mean, I think we are using all the resources that we have, and we have a lot, you know, we're piloting with classroom clinic, so offering more mental health support for students, which I think is key and continues to be something that's utilized quite a bit. And I think we just have a really great staff that is willing to, you know, show up to CAP and help support kids. And you know, hey, I got an email today as an example, hey, I haven't seen this kid in 4 or 5 days. Do you know if something's going on there? You know, so just a very caring staff that I think is one of the best resources we have, taking care of our kids. So I can't think of anything else top of my head. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, and then the debrief of our conference. So who wants to talk about?
So I'll start. I thought it was great. So many of us were there. It's my first time going, so everybody that went every year and I didn't, sorry. It was cool. It was a good time. I guess. So I took the two of the higher level finance courses, so 201 and 301. I did find a lot of redundancy in 301, but you know, it was fine. But it was nice to see other articulations of how the finances land, how we can utilize the state funding, ways that we can move money between buckets if need be, and how that all works, right? The sourcing and all that kind of stuff, and how we affect taxpayers with the decisions we make. So I think that was really, really important. And I also took some that were, you know, how to better manage public participation in meetings, which is always something to refresh on. It's really good because it was led by lawyers. So they're like, here's how you not get sued. So that was always very, very helpful. And then sat through a class on alternative salary schedules, which I thought was pretty interesting too. So I don't know that it was necessarily super applicable to us, and I think we do a pretty good job of what we're doing the way we're doing it. But it was nice to see how other districts manage their salary spend in ways that I wouldn't have thought of. I think so. It's nice to come into a system that we have and be like, okay, that's cool, and this is how it works. But here's how other districts, if they're in a bind or if they're trying to dig out of a deficit, here's how they did it. That was kind of nice to see. And then I thought the more impactful was I sat in on a class on safety and security on school campuses. It was really cool. They talked a lot about SROs, a lot about strategically designing buildings and creating barriers and whatnot for the safety of the students and the staff, mitigation of emergency issues, how to extend the time that it takes for someone that wishes harm on people to, you know, not be able to, right? So because the response time is really, really short, but you know, we want it to be shorter. So how do we do that as a district? I thought it was great too. And I had the opportunity to meet with the board president from the Davenport School District. They've got 5 SROs there. And they actually that week had mitigated a weapon on campus through the relationships built with the SROs. So that was an interesting story to see a district that has a large minority population and how that integrated their SRO program with preventing who knows what. I thought that was really interesting, and obviously the networking part of it's great too. And then one of the things I had brought up was obviously our community makeup and how that looks. And the presenter actually had done a lot of work in Texas, and he suggested that because of our concerns or potential concerns with immigration and how that the law enforcement can be utilized as an extension thereof, to reach out. He gave me a couple of names of some folks down in Texas that they have to navigate this all the time because they're right there on the border. They're going to have way more issue than we will on this particular topic. So he gave me some contacts on that. So I'm going to reach out to them and be able to say, hey, how do you guys navigate this? What have you guys seen? You guys have SROs or not in these larger districts and smaller districts? And then how do you navigate that to make sure that it's not punitive to the students and get in the way of the learning environment, but is also beneficial. So I thought that was great. And then I did take the board president's workshop the following day. And I thought that was fantastic. Highly encourage anybody to go. That's president or not. There were superintendents. There was all sorts of folks there, and it was really good. You meet a ton of people, and you hear a lot of lived experiences. And I thought that was fantastic. Plus, we got a worksheet that I'll show everybody later. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
You were there all 3 days, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really good.
Well, Like I said, I had to make up for it,
I gotta
right?
make up for it for not going before.
I did the AI, which is over my head.
Now, we
so
both,
far.
we both
Yes,
did the AI and we both
Which
did the cell phone one. yeah.
just makes you want to get people in that understand it to make sure that we're doing
Yeah.
everything we can. There's someone in there that said that they had a student use AI to write their entire paper and they had to crack down on it. And they said that they looked at their policy and they didn't really have a policy. They could get them under a plagiarism. But they said he didn't even fight it because he was like, I figured if you caught me, I'd get in trouble and you wouldn't accept my paper, but it was worth trying. But I think it will be important at some point. I know you talked about starting a technology committee to make sure we have not just, are learning the newest things about it, but also making sure we have policy to make sure that we're using it appropriately. The other one that I did, different teaching therapies, which was, this school district had gotten a grant, I can't remember what school district it was, Edinburgh maybe. I got a grant so they got a whole bunch of money to do all of these new teaching opportunities using. So it was interesting, but it was also like, that you had the opportunity to have all of this additional money to create, so it was good, but wasn't quite as applicable. And then the other one we went to was cell phone policy. I can't remember who I won. You?
And me.
And, oh yeah, we all were in there.
Yeah.
And that raised a lot of questions about should we be looking into it, having a cell phone policy that would remove cell phones in our classrooms or in our schools from the bell starting. How do you explain that?
Yeah, they said their policy was like in the classrooms, like they did the cubby policy, which you talked about doing before, was like they had
Like couches.
they had couches in the classrooms when you walked in, you put it in, and so just during class time, because they found that during the class, this was through Tama School, North
Yeah.
and South
Yes.
Tama, they were the ones who had it, and they sent us their policy, and so we could, look at something like it, and it was just like throughout the classroom period, out of reach of students, just put aside. And that they, even when they go to the bathroom, so they wouldn't have access to it, because they found out that even when kids were going to the bathroom, then they were getting on social media and stuff like that. And like they said too, that like the amount of times that someone got a like or dislike on their post could just like drain them in one day, so that
Yeah,
like
they said a dislike or a negative comment, it takes like 4 hours to, recover from it. So they said if that happens, you might as well just send the kid home because they're no longer in learning mode. They did say that, they've done a lot and they've had a really good repercussions, I guess, from it. That their referrals to the office went down like 33%. They took all of the onus off the teachers so that a kid couldn't say, well, when I'm in her class, she kind of lets me use it. And when I'm in his class, then now I'm in trouble because I forgot or whatever. It's just zero phones in all the classes, and they can have it in the hallway. They can have it at lunch, check your phone, make sure there's no emergencies, whatever, but really encouraging parents to call the office, and because parents aren't going to call the office to say like, hey, reminder, dentist appointment tomorrow, but they might text their kid during the middle of the day. I'm just as bad, but my kids can't have phones. And obviously, I think at that middle school, they're supposed to keep them in their lockers anyway. I honestly don't know what the cell phone policy is at the high school, so I don't even want to speak and say this would fix it, but I think it'd be nice to have.
My nice
something.
blanket one. And I liked the punishment too, like the first one was that the kid took it away, and they said that one was like, that one number was pretty high, like that of our referrals, like
they just, as soon as you see a kid on their cell phone, it's just like, go to the office.
go to the
The
office.
office just says, hey, you're not supposed to be on your phone, takes the phone, you can come and get it at the end of the day.
And then the second time the kid gets busted, the parents had to pick up the phone, and I was like, and then that one dropped it down in half once the
Dramatically,
parents
yeah.
had to go get it. And of course they had parents upset because there's time and this, but then after that, then it dropped down to like 10 digit numbers, and then they said they just had burner phones in there at one time where kids are just leaving phones behind, just not even admitting they still left them.
But they said, and it's kind of the same as attendance where, you know, you celebrate we went down
Yeah.
10% from last week, let's celebrate that.
And they said that some pushback was, but they said that the kids in the end they already knew the system. It was just like an easy. And so, we kind of talked about like, how could we, you know, do something like that? What would it take? And they said they had committee formed and then they had input from a parent group and a student
And
on the
teacher.
committee and teachers and administrators, of course. And then they formed this committee and then they put the policies together and then they brought it to the board for a vote. So, I mean, that would probably be the most logical, but I like the idea that I had like a student on it so they could get some kid input, you know, so.
And just talking about once like class time's over, you have 5 extra minutes, they just saw human interaction increase so much. And people were talking to each other, which is, you know, obviously something we should also be teaching our kids. So, yeah, I thought that one was worth the whole conference for me. It was really interesting.
It seemed like something that, I mean, if it doesn't come down by Iowa lawmakers
Right.
anyways, I feel like it's gonna come anyways, and it feels like something we'll talk about soon, so it'd be nice to start thinking about it. And then I like the AI one too. At the college, we've even started using like the old school blue book. That's that thing that you get like numbered papers and it has your name on it, like, and you write out the whole test and so, yeah, I mean, it's everywhere, you know, so people are trying to figure out how to deal with, you know, even at the university. I liked how she suggested that, when the one I went to the Thursday one or the longer one the day before. And so it was a little bit longer. So she went into more details. She had a little bit more policies and we actually opened up a lot more of the apps and the functions and I showed it how it works and stuff like that. So some people didn't understand exactly what AI was and what Chat GPT was. And so we went through like some of the things it can do. And basically she was like, you're gonna have to figure out a way to work within it or work around it or work with it because it is gonna be here. And like in a year or two, the kids will be able to just, you know, it'll be able to generate itself, its own ideas. So like coming up with some, you know, the policies on how you want to use it or limit it or, how, you know, because it's, even if you tried the testing for AI, it's not always accurate. So.
And the lawyer that was doing that one, at least she said that she has, like, you can reach out to her. She's got samples of ones that because it was a lawyer that was actually, that does education law. You can reach out to her and she'll give you samples of how to even start working on that.
Oh, the policies. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, where do you start?
Yeah. Cause I mean, but yeah, I feel like she's just like, you're gonna have to start because it's already here. So that one was good.
Yeah, I was just there the Thursday. I love the convention. I think it's really well done and super full of a lot of information. I also thought it was really cool that we were all there because then we could cover a lot of like, you know, you guys were going to the cell phone one, so it's like, okay, then I can go to a different one and we can just get more information that way. I went to Hacking IASB's School Finance Tools, which sounds kind of boring, but was really great. It had a ton of information just going through the website and just a really good reminder of all of the information that's on there that we can use. I myself kind of had even forgot, but I mean, like they have just hundreds of reports, all of our district's information for this is like 7 general fund key financial indicators. They have enrollment data, tax rate history. So it was really good, really informational. Also a really great way to like look at other districts. You can go in and they're all right there. It was really convenient and just a really good reminder of where a lot of crucial information is that we can easily get to and that they're super helpful. So I really liked that one. I thought that gave a lot of information. The next one I went to was Igniting Board Excellence, a conversation with experienced board presidents, and that had the Iowa City school board president and Oskaloosa. And that was really great as well. They just talked about their boards, talked about, they had both been seasoned presidents, so just what they did to help keep their board united and healthy as a team. They talked about doing a lot of like retreats, not a lot, but a couple that I thought sounded like a really good idea. Just making sure your board knows each other really well. That makes it easier to work together, to hear each other, of course. They talked about a student being a part of your board, which I thought was really interesting and a good idea. That would be something to think about. And then also, like when new people come on, kind of have like an onboarding orientation for new board members. And I just thought that was a great idea, just to bring everybody up to speed about what kind of the hot topics have been, what we're working on. So yeah, that was really good. And then the last one was an AI one, went to as well, and just, yeah, important. So policy, and then I always love their keynote speakers. That's my favorite part. And they had really great ones again. They had Donna Beagle talked about poverty. So that was
That one
a really
was very
excellent.
interesting.
Yeah, she was really great. The fact that she herself lived through poverty and then made that out and has her doctorate, and yeah, so I thought that was really cool. That was great. Mention.
For myself, I think that similar to the graph we just saw where the attendance was super high and they got awards, we deserve an award for this. No, I'm serious, because this is the first one that I've ever been to, and I've gone 4 years in a row where we all were there.
Yeah.
Many of them, in fact, probably 3 of them, I was the only one there. So, and it was, yeah, it was like, wow, what's in, their Muscatine board was like, you can sit with us. And it's like, okay. So I think we deserve an award for that. Not shame, not guilt, but just an award. And then as far as what I enjoyed about it, the AI I thought was really powerful. I went to the long session. I went 2 days. I went to the long session that Becky was in. I saw you up there asking questions, but it was clear that AI is here and we're way behind. And using it to catch people plagiarizing is not even on the radar screen. And you know that. We know that from our jobs using AI in our industries. So Houston, Chicago have policies in place. Pleasant Valley is working on theirs right now with this exact consultant that presented. And they took us through these different versions of AI, ChatGPT, and a bunch of other accessories or applications that went with it. And it was incredible. It was really powerful. It was really easy, and it was very instructive. And I know the kids are using it. So Snapchat, they're using the AI in that right now. This phone I just got in New York City, it's got the AI in it. So it's here. And for us to be looking like, how do we keep kids from cheating? We're way beyond that. So that was one thing that was really good. The other one was the poverty. I really enjoyed that too. We did an exercise where we looked at where people were in their lives, what happened to them, where you ended up either way in the front of this hallway or way in the back. I was somewhere in the middle in the back, and others were way, way out there with all the privilege that they got. Things as simple as, did you go on vacation? Did you live in your car? You're like 6 steps back. And it was really cool because every person that was at that conference obviously was super successful and aspired to a lot. So it didn't matter. You could just see how people can succeed no matter where they are in that spectrum. So I thought that was really powerful. So I enjoyed her too. The one that I thought was the most interesting, though, was the one put on by the Perry group about what happens, what do you do to preclude, and what do you do after an event like what happened to them. And it's of course it's still going on, right? It's like The anniversary, I think, is January or something, it's coming up. And what they have put in place, I think we need to look at. The training that they did afterwards and what they had in place before really was special. And it was unique, I think, and I think I think they did really good to have that in place, but it was still terrible. And they struggled so bad and they're still struggling. But they were very direct. They revealed everything. It was really powerful. I think we should reach out to them and find out what they did, what they've done, and what we need to prepare for. Because that's just one of many things that are coming at us right now. That's just one of many. So I thought that one was really good. And then the last thing that I would share is we created this opportunity in this conference to meet with Latino Hispanic school board members, a breakout session. And there was like 6 there, including myself. And we just talked about our school districts. And I was really proud, of course, to share about West Liberty, right? The fact that we're celebrating our 25th year of a dual language, and they're all impressed by us. I just want you to know, it's incredible. They just think we're the best. In fact, after I was like, I don't even know what I can say, right? It was that good, I guess. And so I was very proud of what we do here and how we take care of our demographic or unique and how they can learn. So we're going to continue to meet, continue to work together. I shared with them this Migration Looks Beautiful, which is a curriculum that we're working to introduce inside of the 3rd grade class here in West Liberty. And I don't know if you've seen this, but this is the book that was created by a professor there at the University of Iowa at the Women's Archives. And it's all Iowa. So it's really uniquely us. So I thought that was really good. And I guess that's all I'll share for now.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's very nice. And I agree, it's really, I love going to this thing, and the networking is really fun.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll do one lesson. ADM had this program where they focused on one thing as a board, and it was like reading proficiency. And they had this like inspirational speaker that was kind of the person and I call it the distinctions that they used to achieve what they were to achieve. And they were like, you know, everybody knew our goal, and that's the only goal we worked on, and we are so high. We're not competing with other schools, we're just doing ours. And the thing that I liked was like, even the bus driver knows our goal. The bus driver is part of our goal. And I think those are the kinds of things that we can learn from here to focus on something, because there's so much, right? And if we can just focus on one thing, and that will bring everything else up also. So I want to learn more about what they did, and I'll bring it back also. And I'll share with you back in the rest of the board.
And I did go to the evaluation one, the superintendent evaluation one, and it was interesting because it was like a district like ours. And I guess it's like where Sean grew up, right? Was your district where you grew up? The guy who presented it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Silly achieving.
Yeah, and it was a smaller district, but it was just interesting because he was new and the board was new, and so they came on together and they did the school board, the school superintendent evaluation, and they just kind of talked about how to kind of go through the process and, you know, don't wait until April or May. And I'm like, wait. And he just talked about how you can do like little things along the way and like keep things and like make it meaningful and stuff like that. So I thought that one was really good just because it made me feel like human, that none of us know exactly what we're doing. So it kind of just made it all lined up that, you know, and he was just really, you know, personable about it. So that was a good one too. All right. So the reading. Anything special about these, Abby, or is it pretty much?
Pretty straightforward. Kara's going through and just again align them to the Iowa Association of School Boards. But there might be a couple that are completely struck out, and that's just because it's somewhere else.
As they cover somewhere else.
Yeah. I think this is,
The first reading, right?
Yeah.
and she's about getting through the entire group of policies, so.
Wow.
Shouldn't have to go through this exercise too much more.
The thing I liked about some of the revisions, and I know we didn't take a lot of artistic liberty, but the 90304, where it talks about public conduct on school premises, I think that clearly outlines kind of the expectations and what to do about it. Gives maybe some guidance to administration of like, hey, if somebody comes in flying off the handle, how exactly do we handle that? Not to take discretion away, but to make it clear of like, no, you're empowered to do exactly this with that person. So I thought that was really, really good. And I know that sometimes parents can get a little excited in different situations. So having a clear policy on what do we do about that, I think is helpful.
Yeah, this part on the district emergency operations plans too kind of falls into what I was seeing there from the Perry presentation.
Right, Superintendent report.
Yeah, so we have a few commendations to start with. First from Ms. Vernon, she says every year Mr. Beal arranges for students. He serves and their parents to attend Camp Courageous for the day. And at the camp, the students meet other children, play games, skill walls, participate in arts, crafts, dance, meet Santa. So it's just a great opportunity for the students that Mr. Beal works with to be able to work on their social skills, meet other children in a new place, and just have a good time while doing that. Kudos to Mr. Beal for taking the students there to Camp Courageous. For Mr. Ryan, he said we want to give a huge shout out to the office staff, BLC and Elementary, as well as Nurse Dare for stepping in and helping to meet students' needs in the office while Nurse Kayla was doing some professional learning and has been out a little bit. So they did a wonderful job of filling in. And then from Mrs. Arthur Miller, said that we hosted the RBC principals a week ago, Friday, November 22nd. Mr. Genn shared about the supports. You heard a lot about those tonight in academics and attendance through the CAP program and common supports. So they were definitely treated there free of charge, I'm assuming too.
Yeah, good.
Wonderful.
A couple people reached out and I gotta put all these materials together.
So I kind of back. Yeah.
Got like how it work.
Like, I will not repeat this next year.
Yeah. So hard to kind of teach somebody how to do something. It's like,
Yeah.
but we'll work on it.
It's good to be sought after.
Yes.
Also, Ms. Schulteis and Ramsey shared about the college going culture that they've built in the high school as well. So a great day of learning. And she heard a lot of compliments from the group.
I heard him again today. We're
Awesome.
at the decap in Bettendorf and two for RBC principals. Both said like that was great. We really enjoyed that. We should do it again. We should just. so many
Like, let me
things
check
to
his
do.
schedule.
Yeah, you up for that?
Maybe much.
Go around different schools and do different things.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks for sharing that. Also, congratulations to all the fall activity participants and coaches. We had several all-district players, all-state academic students. We had 12 students in the RBC honor band, dance team performances at the FA convention, fall play, fall concerts, students participating in the U of I Design Dash, fall food drive, Eastern Iowa Community College Poetry Contest, students participating in the U of I College of Public Health Day, and much, much more. It's great to see so many of our students participating in such a wide range of extracurricular activities. So just kudos to the kids, to the teachers, sponsors. I could have probably listed 20 more things that have been going on. And the things that I listed is a lot. So we have a lot of great things going on here, a lot of fantastic supports for our students. So many opportunities, I think a district this size, kids can participate in so many things and, you know, we have many teachers. Parents, just staff, coaches going above and beyond for our kids. So it's great to see all these opportunities and so many kids involved in just such a wide variety of ways. You know, there truly is something for everybody here in West Liberty. So that is awesome. And then last, our facilities committee met today. That is consists of Jeremiah Smith, Adam Marie, and then Kieran, Ed, and Abby. So our facilities, our facilities committee has been doing some work to get our architect determined. And today we met with OPN, who we chose as our architect. They have local offices in Iowa City and Cedar Rapids. And we just met to begin our design process and are looking forward to just working with OPN, getting this ball rolling for the final phase of our project. So that's the activities built. So the next few months we'll be working on just the design, the details of the building, just all the specs, and then they'll put it out for bid. Will be the next part of that process. And then construction will begin. So I'm very excited about that and hope to have all of this all said and done by the end of 2026, which seems like quite a ways out. But you know, if you remember about 3 years ago, we were talking about our capital projects. We had a 5-year plan that was in 22. We were hoping to be done by 27. We thought maybe that was a lofty goal. And so with the community support, board support, etc., things falling in place, you know, I think we're going to be well ahead of that. So it's great to just to have all of this going on and to be able to get these projects completed for our students in the community. So
Just to piggyback off of yours, just because thinking about two of my kids have been able to benefit from some of the extra services provided. My son is hearing impaired, and this school has always made transportation available to go to deaf and hard of hearing events. And I know there's other kids that benefit from it as well. But then also recently, my daughter was chosen as one of the kids that Jackie Henderson took a group of 7th grade students to a center in Muscatine, and they were presented with 3 different charities, and they had to pick. Do you know about that? They got to pick. They met with.
Was it the Stanley?
From other students or
No,
from
it's
other
the
schools,
Shark Tank.
and they got to, as
a
seventh graders, like pick which charity gets the money. And then she came home, she's like, guess who got the money? It was the animal shelter, I think. It was an animal shelter, I think they got it. But so those are, I mean, just 2 examples in the last month, really, from my kids have benefited from. So I think it's amazing, the stuff that's being offered to all students.
thanks for sharing that.
Can you share, Sean, we were talking about this, CMAR process, is that what we're doing with this project?
So yeah, thanks. I hadn't clarified that. We're doing design bid build.
Got it.
Design bid build is the, let's say, traditional method here in Iowa, especially. The CMAR, construction manager at risk, has come into play in the last two years where the legislature approved that Iowa schools could not follow that model. Private entities, et cetera, could and have been for a long time. Some other states have been doing that model longer, or having that model in place longer for the public entities. And then Iowa just passed that a couple years ago. So we were looking into that and strongly considering it and really just trying to educate ourselves on that model. Would design bid build be better for us versus construction manager at risk? And what we found, I guess I'll summarize it in a nutshell, and feel free to add to this, but construction manager at risk was maybe more than what we needed. For the type of project we're doing, you know, it's basically a giant rectangle with some rooms inside of it. I mean, it's a pretty simple building, you know, it's not like a Mall of America or, you know, an ongoing like 10-year project with 6-8 different phases in it and super complex. You know, so when you look at the big scale of things, the big picture of things, this is a big project, don't get me wrong, but the complexity of it versus others that maybe they would highly recommend a construction manager at risk, you know, someone to that we would pay extra money to have really working in the weeds with the architect, so to speak. We just feel that really wasn't necessary to pay an extra percentage, extra fees. It could end up costing the district a pretty good sizable chunk of change to have that construction manager at risk, that extra person or company involved in this process. So we decided to go back to design, bid, build. There's enough safeguards and assurances in place that, that's how we did the middle school, the WLC, that's how we did, the athletic complex out here. And all have turned out well. So, saving a little money, but we just really didn't need to add on that extra layer. We could still get an outstanding product. And it would probably expedite things a little bit too. There's a ton of work up front with the construction manager at risk, and that's where we end up accruing quite a few of those costs as well. I don't know if anybody wants to add to that. That was part of the meetings, but
No, I think both the architectural firms that we met with were, we all kind of, I mean, I think me and you at least both walked in thinking we should move to the CMR.
yeah,
And we asked them point blank, both of them, they're kind of like, it's probably not necessary, but we do both work. It's up to you, but for this project, it's just not necessary.
Yeah.
But we'll do either, and we're like, what's the difference, cost
Yeah.
and time?
Yeah.
That we don't really have.
I agree. That answer that.
All right, so on to personnel.
Resignations, and just moving coaching positions, and then one recommendation to dismiss.
For policy, that's an action item, so you just have to do a vote on the dismissal of a employee on mid-year. I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, and future items, next regular board meeting is Monday, December 16th at 6. Consent agenda and second reading of the board policies and approval of at-risk and dropout prevention plan. If you have anything we wanted to add, if we talk about anything else, we can always get it added by then. Take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, all right. All in favor? We're all agreeing, aye. It's all adjourned.
Hey, Becky.
Yeah.